Welcome back to Wannabe Mama. My name's Corinne Smart. This episode is going to be a bit different. I'm starting a new segment called Baby Talk. I'll be interviewing women who are struggling with infertility, who are pregnant, or who are moms. So hopefully their experiences will be able to help you with your baby making journeys. And if you have a story that you'd like to share in your own episode of Baby Talk, please reach out to me on social media or email me. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to Wannabe Mama. So for our first episode today, I have my friend Alisha with me. Hey, Alisha. Hey.
Hi.
And she recently just got pregnant with IVF. Alisha, tell us a little bit about your fertility journey. I know it's been a struggle for you.
Yeah, so it started probably like 5 years ago. Like that's when we decided to go off birth control. And then it's just funny thinking back now, all those years of using birth control when it really didn't matter.
I know. I feel the same way. I tell my husband all the time, I'm like, dude, we will never have to use birth control ever in our life. So whoop, whoop. That's like the one silver lining of like infertility.
Exactly. But then I just think about, when we were first married, how I was so terrified of having a baby. It's like, I did not want that. And we spent so much money on birth control. Now it's like, oh, well, that was a silly thing to be worried about.
Yeah.
We had finished school. We both had jobs. We were like, okay, it's time to move on in our lives. And that's when I decided to remove the IUD, and we're like, okay, here we go. And then a year came and a year went. Nothing happened, just trying naturally on our own. And then I started thinking about fertility. And then it took a really long time to get an appointment, just initially to see a doctor. It was probably 3 or 4 months. When we finally had our appointment, they asked me a lot of questions about, like my periods and my cycle. And my cycles were longer, but it was like, they're like clockwork. I never missed one. They were never irregular. They were always the same. So I didn't think that was going to be an issue. And I think that was part of our problem, is that because my periods were so regular, we didn't realize that it was really me that was the problem.
Yeah. No, I feel like we're kind of twins in the same way. I had regular periods as well. Like never thought that it was my problem. Yeah. So it's interesting that you have the same issue, but it was you, even though you had regular periods. Did you know that you ovulated? Did they tell you that?
So I didn't know if I ovulated or not. And so we did some blood work and they put me on
Clomid, letrozole.
Thank you. They put me on letrozole.
Yeah.
So after the blood work came out, they're like, well, we don't think that you ovulate regularly. Like your body is going through the motions, but it's not actually releasing any eggs. Mm-hmm. So they put me on the letrozole to help me get my body ovulating, and then it started to.
Did you also have thyroid issues?
Not that I know of.
Okay, so did they check you for that?
I don't think so. I mean, they did their whole run of tests, but they never mentioned anything about my thyroid or anything like that.
Okay, so there's one thing that I want to suggest to women who are struggling with infertility. Like when you go to a fertility clinic, you have to be your own advocate, because they have so many patients that they literally forget who you are sometimes, unfortunately. And so if you know that you might have problems ovulating, like your thyroid affects if you ovulate. So have them check for your thyroid in the beginning as well, because you can go on levothyroxine, which is what I go on every day, to help regulate your thyroid, which might help with your ovulating. So continue.
I feel similarly. I almost feel like these big infertility clinics are just like a business. They get you in, they get you out. And my biggest recommendation is to be your own advocate. Mm-hmm. Ask those questions, because they won't tell you unless you ask. I had experiences where they would ask me, have you been diagnosed with PCOS? I'm like, no, I thought that was your job. Right. Just like things like that. So as far as we knew, I just didn't ovulate regularly, and I was on the letrozole, and then more blood tests confirmed that, okay, now I am. And for the first time in my life, I actually could feel myself ovulating. And then some months when I wasn't taking the letrozole, I could even feel my body ovulating then. So I knew oh, it's starting to figure it out.
Were you doing letrozole and then IUIs?
Yeah. So we did letrozole and IUIs on and off for probably a good 2 or 3 years.
How many cycles of IUIs did you do?
We did 6.
Yeah, we did 6 too.
So we're like the same.
I really like that. Okay.
So yeah, we did.
Any of them work for you?
None of them took at all. From what they had told us, it was Todd's problem.
Okay.
He had a very low sperm count, and they're like, let's try a few IUIs. But they never explained anything to us, why it wasn't exactly working. They recommended IVF pretty soon, but they didn't tell us why they recommended that. They would say, well, there's still a chance that IUI could work, but we just recommend IVF, but they never explained why. So in our minds, we're like, well, if there's a chance, this is a little bit cheaper option, like, let's keep trying. We didn't see any reason to jump straight into IVF at that point.
My husband's sperm is amazing. Like, he was like off the charts. He is
rock star.
Like, he's like, so like our doctor gave him like a grading. He's like, you're A+. And he's like, first time A student. Like, he was so excited.
Yes.
So we did so many IUIs, but I kind of wish we didn't do as many as we did, because it should have worked. Because they put, like, when you do an IUI, they put like the millions of sperm. Usually when you have sex normally, I think only a couple 100,000 maybe get inside into your uterus. And so IUIs, they put more sperm up there to give you more of a chance to get pregnant. For me, it was more of a, what's it called? Like indicator that it wasn't going to work after like the third one or fourth one. I think I should have stopped, but
yeah.
Keep going.
And,
sorry.
I say hindsight is 2020. We're the same. Like, oh, we should have like stopped doing this a long time ago. And even in our last couple IUIs, we were doing double samples, like frozen and fresh to, boost that number. But then when we ended up switching fertility clinics and we ended up finding out like there's all sorts of things wrong with me.
So before you switch clinics, when you guys are doing the double cycle, did you still think it wasn't your problem at all? It was still all him?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We figured that, mine was just ovulation, but that was fixed with the letrozole. But that wasn't the case. And for me, it was just super frustrating because this was my first experience with this. So I didn't know the questions to ask. I didn't ask them what my exams even looked like. They never told me, and I never thought to ask because I'm not a doctor. I didn't know what to ask.
Well, you put so much trust into your doctors too. And I'm not bashing our fertility clinic, but at the same time, I kind of wish that they would know, yes, they have so many patients and they can't invest their emotions into our journeys because I think that would just depress them, but I just,
right. You have to have some separation.
Yeah. I just wish it look at the freaking chart. I've been in so many times and they're like, okay, so how many IUIs have you done? I'm like, you should know. When I did IVF, so you did IVF? And I'm like, yes, all of my eggs died. You should know, and so it's just frustrating. So I'm really glad you switch clinics. That is an option, you guys. You do not have to stay with the clinic that you are with. You can totally switch. So what made you pick the new clinic?
So I had just done a lot of research of the different clinics throughout Utah. And I actually had several friends recommend this clinic. The doctor there, he and his wife had infertility. So his goal is to kind of help new families at a lower cost. Because he's like, we were just out of school. We didn't have any money. We wanted kids, and it was just crazy, what we had to go through to get there. So that was just his goal, is to help people get their families started without, breaking the bank.
When you first went in, what was the first test they did on you?
So he just did a normal pelvic exam. And then he did his own blood work. And then actually he had taken basically our test results from our previous clinic. And he just sat down and he just explained everything to me. He's like, this is what this number means. And it turned out that I had all these different things wrong with me that should have been relayed to me. Because I don't know how they would have not known. But then he explained it in very patient-friendly terms. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. I don't know any of this. And so it just became very clear.
Did they test your AMH level? Did he tell you what that was, your egg reserve?
Yeah. So he said that I did have quite a few eggs because I'm a hoarder. For years and years, I wasn't releasing them. So not producing eggs, that wasn't my problem. They just weren't coming when they were supposed to.
No, I didn't even know that you can just, if you don't release them, you still have them. That's a new fact that I had no idea.
Yeah. They just hang out getting older.
Yeah. Crazy. Okay. So after they looked over your blood results, did they do any other? Because I know that they found out something about your anatomy that you're what? I had no idea.
Yes. Based on my blood work, that I do have a mild case of PCOS. I feel like there's a very stereotypical PCOS look, overweight, facial hair, things like that, but irregular periods. But that was never me. And a lot of it, how he knew, is like the insulin resistance. Like I've always had blood sugar problems. I figured I was hypoglycemic, and he's like, well, that's because you have PCOS. They're like directly linked. And then based on that, my uterus is also like tilted slightly, and that is mild endometriosis. So I have that as well. And then
do you feel any like symptoms of endometriosis?
No, and that's the thing. I was like, I had no idea, feel nothing. And he's like, it's very mild. Just like keep an eye on it. You'll probably be fine. But the endometriosis is caused by cervical stenosis. So my cervix was so small that any of my husband's little sperms that were trying to get in would be like crushed to death. They couldn't even make it through.
Your previous clinic did not even tell you that?
No, none of this. And so then everything like made sense. And because my cervix is so small, when I'm on my period, it doesn't, this is like gross, but it doesn't,
you're fine.
It doesn't drain properly. And then that builds up the endometriosis and causes the scar tissue.
Got it.
He's like, if you have like a child vaginally, I think it'll kind of stretch things out, and then that problem will kind of be resolved.
Just make sure you do an epidural, because can you imagine? Like the initial stretching would be so painful.
Well, that's my plan. I'm just a little worried, like, say it's too small.
Yeah.
Like it can't come out, so it's not an option. I mean, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it, but It has crossed my mind.
Is there anything else that he found out or that he suggested for like your procedure, like what he wanted to do to get you pregnant?
So what he had told us is that child sperm count was still low. So that's a small piece of the puzzle. But he said that naturally we had 0% chance. And then with IUIs, we were at 2% chance. And I feel like if, our previous clinic had said, this is why we recommend IVF, your chances are 2%. I'm like, we would have been like 2 or 3 and then moved on.
And then, so then he suggested IVF for you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then did you guys do ICSI, or did you just do the regular, put the sperm in the dish and let them do their own thing?
We did do ICSI. It's just like a part of their package that they offered. And because Todd's sperm count was low, he's like, we're just going to do it. So I'm like,
how much was your cycle, including your meds?
So I think everything combined was probably like 12 or 13,000.
Okay. So, without the meds, how much do you know? How much that cost?
Without the meds, it was 8,000.
That's good.
So it was really, really good. It's definitely the cheapest place. Like I said, I researched every place that did it in Utah. That was by far the cheapest.
What is that clinic? So if people are looking for places in Utah,
it's East Bay Fertility.
East Bay Fertility in Payson, Utah. So they scheduled an IVF for you. How many did they put you on, like max dose of meds, or were you on regular?
So as far as I know, everything, like they're like, if you're just going to use normal dose of meds. And then it turned out that my eggs were like growing faster than what he expected. So he's like, all right, well, we're going to do it this weekend. I was like, what?
How many days after starting your injections did they take them out?
I want to say probably like a week and a half until the egg retrieval. Wow. But I remember it ended up being like 3 days sooner than what I was expecting.
That's good.
And I don't know, the egg retrieval, I was just so nervous.
Yeah. Were your ovaries like, in pain, or were you okay?
Before like they had extracted them, like I could tell that there was so many eggs in there. Like my ovaries were so heavy. Oh my God. Very, very heavy. So I don't know if you experienced that, but
no, I didn't. So when I did IVF myself, I only had 4 eggs. So for me, when I did my initial ultrasound, the first time we were going to do it 1 month and I showed 6 eggs. And then I was like, maybe I should hold off. So I held off a month, and the next month I showed 10 eggs. And so I was like, hey, let's do it this month. And out of those 10 eggs, only 4 were mature enough to like retrieve. And so my ovaries did not get big. I was totally fine. I feel bad for some girls though, because they can't walk. Sneezing hurts because their ovaries will touch. It's just no. I didn't. Yeah. I feel bad for you.
I mean, it really wasn't bad. Like I would like go to work and I was just like, oh, I can tell they're getting ready. Yeah. But I think like initially we had started off with like low teens. I think he was expecting like 12. And then when he went in there, like 3 weren't mature. So he took out 9. One of them was just a dud. There's just like nothing there. And then 2 of them just died. And so then we ended up with 6 fertilized eggs. So we put in 2 for our first round. And then they're frozen in sets of 2.
Yeah.
So we essentially have 2 more tries.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then you did a fresh transfer, right? Was it a 5-day?
It was a 3-day.
Is there a reason why he wanted you to do 3?
He didn't say. He's like, we're just going to put them straight in. I was like, great. Sounds good to me.
Good job for you getting pregnant on like a fresh transfer, because a lot of times that doesn't work because your body is so hyped up on all the fertility meds to get those eggs out that it won't work. So sometimes they'll recommend just waiting a month. So it takes like 2 months to prepare your body for a frozen transfer. So you have to wait longer, but there's higher chances of getting pregnant doing a frozen transfer. But that is amazing that you got pregnant off of a fresh one.
Yep. I was very lucky. First try.
Yeah. And then you got one of them stuck, right?
Yep. One of them took. Yep. Okay.
And then, so I had to use a donor egg for ours, and my doctor does not recommend putting 2 in if you're using a donor egg, because if you're using a donor egg, it's a 70 to 77% chance that it will work and that you'll get pregnant. If you put 2 donor eggs in, and both of them there's a chance that one of the twins will have a learning processing issue like autism or something like that. And so it's recommended to only put 1 donor egg in. But if you are doing your own eggs, 2 I think it's okay to put 2 in, because your eggs might not be as good as like a donor eggs, because obviously you've had problems getting pregnant. So there's less of like a chance of both of them sticking. Yeah.
And my doctor never mentioned anything about, any cons to putting in 2. He just said that your body is just way more likely to even keep 1 if you put in 2.
So what did they say the percentage was? Because my doctor has a different percentage, but you tell me what yours said first.
Right. I can't remember what he said, but it increases it by like 60% or something.
Really? Because mine said only like 6 or 7%. If you put 2
really?
In. Yeah. So if you put 1 in, it's like a 60% chance that it will work for like your own eggs. And then if you put a second one in, it's only bumps it up 6 or 7%.
And he had told me that if you put in 3, it only bumps it up by 6 or 7%. So it's like not worth putting in like more than 2. But just for me, like, I'm grateful we put in 2 because we only got 1.
Yeah.
But to me, it's fascinating how different doctors have different opinions and things like that. Like, I know, like, I was recommended to do bed rest, but I think like you weren't.
No.
And I just doing my own research on Dr. Google, like there's both things out there that say, oh, yes, you should. And oh, no, you shouldn't. And I feel like the more current trend is no, you shouldn't. So I don't know. That's also very interesting to me.
Well, I have another friend, she's done IVF with her own eggs, and her doctor recommends 3 days of bed rest. And she was able to get pregnant each time. So I think this time when I did it, I tried to be more like, I took work off and like no stress, literally sitting more often. And I did still move around a little bit, but I try to be more chill this time.
Just so nerve wracking, because I feel like you just throw everything into this. And then if it doesn't work, like, as you know, it's devastating.
Yeah.
So.
I understand. Talking about pregnancy symptoms, when did you first start feeling them, and what were they? And what were your blood levels when you first found out?
Yeah. So when we first found out, I believe he told us it was 182. And then we were like, ooh, maybe it's twins. And it ended up not being that. And they're like, no, if it's over like 200, that's when we start suspecting twins. I probably didn't start feeling things until week 5, but it was like very mild.
Like what did you feel?
So it was like little twinges, like here and there, mostly like my tendons. Like, it wasn't any like cramping, but since, I didn't know anything, I was like, oh, what if it's a cramp? Like, I know cramping's bad, but mostly I just felt really tired. And I'm also wondering if that could be because we did do the fresh transfer. So I'm like, we went straight from growing all the eggs, extracting them right to the transfer. But yeah, it didn't really hit till week 5. And then week 6 is when I started feeling kind of gross. I never really got morning sickness really bad. I mostly would just feel crappy at night. And let me tell you, night sickness is way better than morning sickness. And then 7 and 8 weeks is when it started really ramping up. Like I had to, and I think a lot of this plays in with my PCOS, my blood sugar levels. Like it would hit 5 o'clock at night, and like I would just like tank. Like I'd have to come home, I'd have to like lay on the couch, eat food, but I never was like super nauseous, just more of kind of like that. I call it like hunger sickness, like when I know it's my blood sugar, but I just feel really gross because of my blood sugar.
Okay.
But initially it really was like nothing. Do you feel pregnant? I'm like, no,
You don't.
I'm fine. I'm good.
I've Googled so many times, and my husband's like, "Stop Googling." And I'm like, "I know." Okay, well, I'm very happy for you, and
Thank you.
But keep me updated on everything, and I really appreciate you coming on to our first episode of Baby Talk. I really like the name. I think it's very quirky, and I like it.
I'm so proud that I am the first one.
Yes. Thank you again. You're awesome.
Anytime.
And thank you for watching Wanna Be Mama, ladies. Good luck. Hopefully this episode was helpful and that you learned some new things. Since filming, Alisha had a beautiful, healthy baby girl. If you're new to Wanna Be Mama, be sure to subscribe to my channel and click the notification button. My channel offers infertility and motherhood support. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need help on their making a baby journey. Again, if you have a story that you want to share in your own episode of Baby Talk, please reach out to me. My contact information is in the description box. And if you have questions, please comment below. Thanks for watching Wanna Be Mama. Good luck, ladies. The cutest pants ever. Your little bell bottoms. I love them. You feel so special in them, huh? Look at the booty.